Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. We are back with another Pokemon Unite video. This time we're doing a Pokemon tier list, obviously from my opinion, and we're actually going to be having some people from chat in my Twitch chat kind of giving their thoughts as well, and we'll probably come to like a similar consensus. A lot of people that are in my chat right now are in Masters or Ultra Rank as well. I'm in Masters for anybody wondering, so it should be a fairly decent tier list. What's up, Nick? Everyone's saying hi now. Oh, I forgot to enable the chat. There you go. All right, everyone say hi to YouTube now. Anyway, so without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. We're gonna go ahead and kind of go in order according to roles, just to kind of make it easier, starting with the roles with the least amount of Pokemon in them. So like, without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the tanks, since there's only 3 of them. By the way, this is for the latest patch of the game at the time of uploading this video, so characters like Blissey are included in this tier list. Anyway, starting off, Snorlax. Snorlax, I think, is just straight up still S tier. They nerfed his block. They made the stun not as... I think they nerfed the duration of the stun or something for Snorlax. I feel like Snorlax is still strong even with that nerf, because honestly, the duration of the stun for Snorlax isn't what made Snorlax strong. Block as an ability in general is what made him strong. The fact that he can just deny like an area, basically, like he has map control when he uses block, and you can use it either to like push people out of a goalpost or push people into a goalpost, and kind of like position the enemy team in your team's favor is the biggest value from block. So the slight stun duration nerf, I honestly don't think matters. Sure, it kind of sucks. It means that you can't like infant stun combo them into a wall as easily, but you're still going to be able to stun people pretty easily. So I think it's pretty good. You think it's a high A or low S? I think it's still a solid S tier, because his role and his job hasn't changed. It's just the stun duration that kind of got nerfed. And what was it? His heavy slam got nerfed too, the damage from it. But then again, in my opinion, the damage is not what made heavy slam good. What made heavy slam good was the stun. And that hasn't changed. So basically, his effectiveness is still the same, in my opinion. His damage output just got slightly nerfed, but like Snorlax isn't meant to do a whole lot of damage in the first place. Snorlax as a tank, his job is to help protect his teammates and help set up plays for his teammates. That's kind of what Snorlax is supposed to do. That's his job. That's supposed to be what he's good at. And these nerfs to Snorlax didn't really touch any of that. So in my opinion, he's still S tier. Anyways, Slowbro. They nerfed Slowbro's Surf, but I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I didn't really notice much of a difference in his Surf. Is it just me? I did notice that I don't get knocked up as often now, but that's probably it. You think he's a solid B? Really? I kind of want to put him in A as a tank, because I feel like you think solid B as well? Here, we'll do this. We'll compromise. Because I feel like the stuns are still really good. Because I do feel like he's not as good as he was before, but I still don't feel like he's bad either. I still feel like he's very good. Let's see. You never really seen any good Slowbros? Oh, I see so many Slowbros in my games. I tend to probably see Slowbros a little bit more often than Snorlaxes, I think. You think solo ranking with Slowbros kind of useless? I don't know. I've seen a lot of good Slowbros still running the Surf Telekinesis combo in my games, and it's still really annoying. I would put Slowbro here, just because I agree that like I feel like his effectiveness has gone down a little bit, but I feel like he's still not a bad pick. Crustle. Let's go on to Crustle next. I'm actually curious what your guys' thoughts are about Crustle. I have mixed emotions about Crustle. I feel like Crustle is one of those tank picks where it's like a good Crustle is insane. And for clarity, let's talk about all of the Pokemon assuming that they're played to the best of their ability. Every time I've seen a good Crustle player, it just wrecks me. I feel like Crustle does a way better. I would put Crustle in the A tier. I think I could agree with that. Every time I see a good Crustle player, it's so annoying to fight against. The dude is just way too hard to kill. He's got way too much health, way too much defense. It's just hard to do damage to the dude. And the guy can just roam around and Xers you out of position so easily. It's so annoying to fight against. It's so hard to deal with. All right, let's go to the supports. I'm just gonna get Mr. Mime out of the way. I think we talked about this a little earlier today too, Shinies, but I definitely agree. I feel like Mr. Mime is a solid A tier. Easily a solid A tier. I personally believe that Mr. Mime is straight up the best support in the game. Everyone can at me as much as they want. At least in a solo queue mindset, Mr. Mime is straight up the best support. It might be a little different in team play. I could see Eldegoss Blissey being better, potentially better, I should say, than Mr. Mime in team play. But I feel like the majority of the community is going to be playing mostly in solo queue or maybe with like a buddy or two. I feel like if they gave him just slight minor buffs, like if they reduced the cooldown of Confusion by 1 second and they made the actual Confusion knockback effect more consistent, because right now it's very misleading. Yeah, his ult stuns you, does damage. People heavily underestimate how much damage output Mr. Mime can do. Mr. Mime is almost like a pseudo attacker and pseudo tank. He has same exact health points as a tank does, as like Snorlax does. His defense stats and special defense stats are also very similar to Snorlax's, about the same. And he does just more damage output than Snorlax. And his walls, the enemy can't walk through your walls, like physically walk through without using a move. They can't physically walk through your walls, whereas you can actually sometimes using like a battle item or something. Like full heal just completely lets you walk through Snorlax's walls. I don't remember if XP does it, but yeah, there's like some stuff can just let you kind of ignore this, whereas you have more walls with Mr. Mime than Snorlax. So in some ways, it's like Mr. Mime is almost like a second Snorlax, because he has good amount of CC as well from the Confusion and his ult. Very tanky, good damage, just all around good pick. Maybe more bug fixes with Confusion, but he's right. I could agree with that. Just something to make Confusion feel more consistent, and I would agree. Let's go to Wigglytuff. I'm curious about your guys, and we'll get to these two in just a second. I'm definitely curious about your guys' thoughts on Wigglytuff, though. I'm not sure if I should put Wigglytuff here or in A category, because I feel like Wigglytuff. Actually, I'm gonna put Wigglytuff here in like a low A. See, we got conflicting opinions here. I feel like Wigglytuff is a nice low A, high B type area, just because of the fact that like I feel like Wigglytuff doesn't have as much carry potential as Mr. Mime does. Like Mr. Mime can literally like hold his ground without any help for a good while by himself, whereas Wigglytuff can kind of do that. But once you start getting into like the mid to late game territory, you start needing more follow-up on your moves to start getting value out of them. You can't like 1v1 or 1v2 people as effectively anymore. Once you start hitting the mid to late game. Yeah, so it's like she's one of those ones that like early mid game, she can kind of be good on her own. But once you start branching beyond that, she starts to feel slightly lackluster. Like it feels hard to get value out of her. And I still believe that her ult could be a little bit better, in my personal opinion. The Sing, I said it before to chat, but I feel like Sing is more or less feels like a suicidal kamikaze move, because it kind of feels like you're kind of just you're just chucking your body into the heat of battle to try and get the big stun or slow effects off to save everybody or to help set up a kill. But I feel like a good portion of time, it ends up just getting you killed a lot of times, or getting heavily damaged at least, and it doesn't feel worth it. So rollout just tends to feel better from a solo queue type mindset, at least for Wigglytuff. In which case, like, you only really thrive as Wigglytuff in bottom lane, where you can utilize all the walls and stuff, or just any other like super tight knit area, like the middle lane in Zapdos, for example, where it's like that tight lane. You can use rollout in that, for example. Sing is also a good runaway move. I would agree on that. It's just, again, it requires you to be, but like rollout is also a better runaway move. You could argue too. In terms of runaway moves, rollout is better. In terms of like battles, you're more likely to survive with rollout, because I don't know if you guys remember, but rollout does give you a shield. I think if you hit a wall with it, it gives you a shield. So you're more survivable with the rollout, and you can probably get as much knockback or throws with the Rella as you probably could with Sing, while surviving a little bit more effectively, I think. Her ult is so annoying, it's too good and charges too fast. I believe her ult charges at a fairly decent rate. And the thing about her ult is that it only gives a shield. It gives a shield and makes like everybody in the area immune to CC, which I think is okay. But like, you're not always running into a ton of like situations where you desperately need that CC immunity. It's like sometimes you need it and sometimes you don't. And it's during the times where you don't that like her ult feels a little lackluster because it only gives us a shield essentially. Like it just gives them that like brief health pool to stay alive and doesn't do much beyond that. Whereas I feel like almost every other ultimate in the game, even Blissey, usually have some type of factor that can just sway a team fight in their favor. Anyways, next up, let's go into probably the two most debatable supports in the game. Oh man, should we talk about, let's get Blissey out of the way. Where do you guys think Blissey should go, to be honest? Because I feel like Blissey, I feel like it's partially the fact that Blissey's like the newest character in the game and people haven't like really figured out how to get value out of Blissey, at least in a solo queue type environment. Beef of Blissey, you guys think? I'm kind of in the same boat. I feel like things are just stacked against her as Blissey. So, yeah, exactly. We still need to test her out more. It's possible that if enough like Blissey mains get good enough with her, that maybe she can go into like the high B, low A category. In team play, she might be a little bit better too. I feel like she just requires too much coordination. Here's my thing about Blissey. Blissey right now feels like a win more character. Okay. She feels like the type of Pokemon that when you're winning, Blissey just feels oppressive because of the helping hand buff that she provides. But when you're losing, it feels very difficult as Blissey to help your team like catch up. Like there's not much you can do because if you're running the helping hand soft boiled combo, like a moveset, you're entirely reliant on how your team is playing to get value out of her. And I would say it's kind of a similar boat as Eldegoss. Now, on that note, I've tried playing the Egg Bomb instead of Helping Hand just to try and give her a little bit more, I guess, individual value for those type of situations where you're maybe losing a little bit. And I feel like Egg Bomb just doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough damage. The AoE is not big enough. Either the AoE is not big enough or the actual casting animation is too slow that a lot of times that even when I throw the egg, it doesn't make it because they ran out of the way already. So I definitely feel like, and on top of the fact that her defenses are just way too weak, she takes a heavy beating. She takes a lot of damage. Even though she has a lot of HP, she takes a lot of damage. Her basic attacks do very little to no damage. That like I find that most of the time I can't even kill minions fast enough. A lot of times, like the wild Pokemon fast enough. That's just like she's literally pure support. She's a pocket healer. Like she's really good at pocketing one person on your team, and that's like it. I found the most success with her playing as a duo with Rappo over here in chat and just kind of pocketing her the entire time. So her solo type playstyle isn't very good. And then her team playstyle is obviously too reliant on her team. And she just takes way too much damage. She can't really fight either. I feel like things are just stacked. I feel like she needs a little bit of a buff to make her feel a little bit better. Eldegoss. What would you guys say about Eldegoss? I feel like Eldegoss could go in this category. Because of the fact that Eldegoss is a range character, it's easier for Eldegoss to do more damage. It's just straight up easier for it to do more damage, especially if you're running Muscle Band Wise Glasses on your Eldegoss. You can actually do a surprising amount of damage as Eldegoss. Okay, yeah, I see you agree with me. The low A, high B tier. And then obviously the Cotton Guard is just a strong ability. Protects your teammates with that shield on top of healing them after it disappears. The ult is still pretty good. The heals are still decent. Leaf Tornado does alright and she can support pretty well. Exactly. I think Eldegoss is a better state than Blissey, and you can sometimes steal or not steal. You can get a few kills out of nowhere with Eldegoss, with like Muscle Band and Wise Glasses and stuff, with their basic attacks. So pretty decent, I would say. Should we talk about all-rounders or speedsters first? You know what? Let's do the speedsters first since we're here. I'm putting Gengar in C tier. I'm sorry, but I feel like Gengar is just, ever since they nerfed his Hex, I feel like he's just not as good. I've played against quite a few Gengars since the patch notes. Yeah, I just don't think Gengar is good enough. I feel like Shadow Ball and Dream Eater are just too weak. I'm sorry, but I feel like they're too weak. Every time I've played against Gengars that have been using those movesets, I've basically just been able to ignore the Gengar. I've never been able to take the Gengar seriously if they're not using the Sludge Bomb Hex combo. And when they are running the Sludge Bomb Hex combo, I feel like it's too easy. It's too easy to avoid it. You can see it coming from a mile away. As soon as you see the Gengar, you can just expect it. You can pretty easily gauge where they're going to try and throw it, in which case it's kind of easy to just move out of the way. If you're running the X speed or eject button battle items, you can kind of just wait for the little red outline of the Sludge Bomb to pop up to know where to pop your battle items to escape from. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's just really easy to anticipate and fight against the Gengar. You can run Shadow Ball Hex. Being a speedster, he can take a beating. He's just really easy to play against. They nerfed his best move to the point and tried buffing his other moves, but I feel like the other moves are just not good enough to the point to justify running them. I feel like even though with Hex is nerfed, Sludge Bomb Hex is still the better combo. And as it is right now, it's pretty easy to anticipate and it's just easy to counter and play around essentially. You think Gengar is A-, B+? I don't know. I can't. I just can't. I feel like every time I fight against Gengar, I never take him seriously. He's just too easy to kill. And here's the thing too, even if it's not me being hit by the Sludge Bomb Hex combo, if I see a teammate that's being hit by it, I'm already in position, ready to gang up on that Gengar to kill him. I feel like this might be one of the few that I have to hard disagree. I just can't. I've never lost to a Gengar since his nerf. The only times I think I've ever like died to a Gengar these days is if like he completely catches me off guard and I'm all alone. All right, next up, let's talk about Talonflame. I feel like Talonflame's a B tier. You think Talonflame's solid S? I could put him here. I feel like Talonflame kind of runs into a similar issue that Gengar does, where like I guess it depends on which movesets you run for Talonflame. Exactly, he's a big glass cannon. But one of the other things too is that depending on which moves, I think it depends if whether or not you're running Fly or if you're running the what's it called, Brave Bird. I think it's Brave Bird, right? If you're running Fly or Brave Bird, I think it's the biggest difference maker in terms of Talonflame. Because if you run Fly, it's very easy to just kind of like avoid the Fly. Because when he's in the air, the enemy can see where you're going to land, so you can just kind of avoid it a lot of times. If you're running Brave Bird, though, I feel like Brave Bird's a very strong move. It has such a large radius too. It's easier to avoid Brave Bird. Really? You think it's easier? I find that whenever I fight against Talonflames who use Brave Bird, they do it from like halfway across the map, so I don't see it coming because I don't see them on my screen. So they just come out of nowhere and like hit me. Fly, though, I feel like is really easy to avoid. In the first patch, they buffed his acrobatics, aerial ace, and fly. Yeah, no, they did increase his damage output. They increased his damage output to the point where like he can actually jungle now and actually do his job properly. But yeah, him being a glass cannon, I think, is the biggest thing about Talonflame, and some of his moves being kind of avoidable. I feel like I could compromise in like a low A, high B tier. That like it's purely dependent on what moveset he runs. That kind of determines whether or not he goes here or here. So I'll put him in the middle of the patch. You think Absol is B tier? You agree Absol is B tier? Yeah, I think Absol's not too bad. It sucks. I actually like playing Absol. Absol feels fun to play. The burst damage is crazy, but I feel like he doesn't have as good mobility compared to like Talonflame does, or even Zeraora. Used to be high A, but everyone got buffed and outshined Absol. I could agree with that. I could definitely agree with that. Yeah, I agree about Zero as well too. Zeraora, I feel like Zeraora feels like an attacker who happens to have movement abilities. That's what Zeraora feels like to me. He just does so much damage. Discharge is fucking broken. Probably it's just a broken ability. He can be dodged easily, I guess. If you see him coming, yeah, you can kind of avoid him a little bit. That's for sure. I could agree with that. You know what? I can agree with that. I would definitely put him higher, obviously, than Talonflame. You think Discharge can be dodged easily? Oh man, I think it depends on which Pokemon you're running then. Like matchup dependent. Because, like, obviously some Pokemon can't escape from it. If you're on top of them and you're running the Discharge, it feels hard to get out of it sometimes. Yeah, obviously if you have any movement ability, but that's matchup dependent. Slower Pokemon like the supports, for example. Supports have, like, no movement. And the tanks don't really have much movement either. They might have, like, a short dash range, but that's kind of it. You just keep walking forward as Zeraora and, like, you catch up to them. I don't know. We'll leave them there then. Just better than Talonflame, but I guess kind of here. I guess you could say Talonflame is like maybe B+ and Zeraora is like A-. All-rounders. I'm just gonna go ahead and put Lucario S tier. I think Lucario is just straight up the best all-rounder right now. Probably one of the best Pokemon in the game too, I think. You think solid A? Dumb high A? I could get on board with that. Let me make a new row. We'll do like a low S tier, high A tier, minimum A. Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I made this new category. I think we're all kind of in the same agreement though. Lucario just has his movement is just way too good. He's good at juking with the Bone Rush. You can toss the bone out and you can like juke him and like teleport to it. He's good at juking, good mobility, good damage. Obviously he's an all-rounder, so he has good stats so he can take a little bit of a beating too. It's just, well, he's probably the epitome of an all-rounder right now, I think. Yeah, the fact that Power Punch can also ignore hindrances, I think is also a nice plus. All right, I think we're on a consensus about Lucario. Let's go into Machamp. I think Machamp is a solid A tier Pokemon. He's good damage. Obviously, he can take a little bit of a beating. Submission is just a powerhouse. Getting chased down by submission, it feels terrifying sometimes, especially if you're in your goal and then you submission just takes you out of your goal and your team just kills you. That feels terrible. You can either do a lot of damage or do nothing. It's scary. Yeah, no, I agree. When he ults too, dude. When Machamp ults, I'm always kind of slightly terrified of Machamp when he ults because like it lasts so long. I can just combo into his moves. He can just ult, use all of his cooldowns, and then finish the ult for the big auto punch thingy, and just do massive damage. Rappo, if Rappo's still in the chat, I've seen Rappo go absolutely insane with Machamp. She likes to run X-Tack battle item on Machamp, and she just does stupid amounts of damage. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with Machamp being A tier. I feel like the only reason he's not as like in Lucario's rank right now is the fact that Lucario just straight up just has more mobility. That's it. Just has more mobility than Machamp. That's it. Charizard. Where do you guys want to put Charizard? I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Charizard still kind of sucks. Aside from his ultimate, I feel like he just sucks. Every time I play with a Charizard, I feel like I have to treat it as if he's not even on my team, unless he's ulting. Yeah, I could agree with that. I don't know. You know what? I think I can put him in B. I don't feel like it's fair to put Charizard in the same tier as Gengar, because at least Charizard can take a beating. At least Charizard can survive long enough to like at least kind of put in damage and help out the team a little bit. And obviously if he's ulting, he gets value. I think a B tier is more fair. I don't think being in the same tier as Gengar, who can literally just die immediately, and it's just too easy to outplay. So it feels like Gengar is just getting no value these days. Fire Punch and his ult can definitely do something. Yeah, no, like I feel like Charizard is better than he was before, just still not in the greatest spot. He just needs more speed or something. I agree. I definitely feel like he still needs some sort of oomph to make him better. Garchomp. I feel like Garchomp, one of those, it's a little controversial. I feel like it's controversial because I feel like, I will put a disclaimer. I don't feel like I've played it against enough good Garchomps to form a confident, solid opinion about where I think each place. I've only played against like less than a handful of good Garchomps, and they were actually pretty decent to fight against, but like we're still not too difficult to fight against. I agree. I feel like Garchomp is one of those Pokemon that, like, the Pokemon is good, but most of the player base is bad. Kind of like with Mr. Mime. I feel like there's just too many really bad Mr. Mimes that people tend to disregard Mr. Mime or, like, not give Mr. Mime enough credit. I could potentially put Garchomp. Actually, I feel like Garchomp could potentially be here because he still suffers from a lot of the same weaknesses. I feel like he still suffers from a lot of the same weaknesses. Like, early to mid game, I'm not gonna lie, every time I play, I have a Garchomp going bottom lane with me. I just assume he's not on my team, and I just carry. I just focus on carrying until he levels up. And then I let him carry a late game. So I feel like he still suffers from a lot of the same weaknesses. I feel like a good player could definitely boot him up to A tier, solid A tier. But as a whole, as a teammate at least, it feels not as much so. Needs more buffs early on to make him better. I agree. Maybe if they just made him be able to level up just slightly faster or something, he could probably go up a little. He could go up to the A tier. It's just that his early game is just too slow. Last but not least, attackers. Who should we start on? Should we just get Ninetails out of the way and just go ahead and keep Ninetails in the S tier? I feel like Ninetails is still just too good. Her CC is still just insane. I can agree. Actually, I can agree with a low S, high A. I can agree with that. Just because I feel like the main thing about Ninetails that doesn't solidify a solid A tier is the fact that I feel like sometimes she doesn't do enough damage for an attacker. The CC is just stupid. Not as much damage compared to some of the other attackers, if that makes sense. You get destroyed by Ninetails. I feel like everybody gets destroyed by Ninetails. Just like the threat, her CC from her basic attacks alone is enough of a threat that makes her scary. As a squishy Pokemon, anything can kill me. That's true. All right, I'm not going to say anything. Tell me your guys' thoughts about Cramorant. Because, at least for me, I've had a higher opinion about Cramorant lately. Especially as I've been climbing into Masters now. He's S high A. He's so good, but not good enough to be S. I could agree with that. I could definitely agree with that. Cramorant has... Yeah, I can agree with that. He has good CC. The Whirlwind Surf is so fucking annoying to play against. Yeah, exactly. It's so... It's almost... It feels almost oppressive as Ninetales sometimes. Because, like, he has just as much good CC. Slightly better damage than Ninetales. It's just that Ninetales has CC in her basic attacks compared to a Cramorant who doesn't, but has a little bit more damage. So it's almost like a trade-off. And I feel like his ult is honestly very underrated too. I've seen quite a few good Cramorants who just like completely zone out an entire area with his ult, and it's just crazy. Venusaur. You think Venusaur is B? I would put Venusaur up here with his... I mean, because you gotta remember, Venusaur got buffed. I think his Solar Beam got buffed. His Sludge Bomb, the slow effect, got heavily buffed, like Charizard's Fire Blast did. I've seen quite a bit of Venusaurs in my ranked games lately, and getting hit with Solar Beam is devastating. Holy shit. Like, the dude is a sniper. The guy will snipe you off your screen. Like, you won't even see the dude, and he'll just Solar Beam you from, like... out of nowhere. It does damage, and you can't underestimate the Sludge Bomb slow effect either. Like that screws me over sometimes, especially if you don't have any movement abilities. I'm not a big fan of Venusaur's ult because I feel like it takes too long for the ult to actually like land, split apart, and do more damage. That like sometimes enemies get away. But I feel like Sludge Bomb, Solar Beam are pretty good. Maybe not pretty good, but very decent. My main thing about Venusaur is how slow he feels. He feels slow. It's hard to get away. He has no movement abilities. You can't... If you have like someone like Machamp attacking you as Venusaur, it feels hard to get away. That's probably one of the things about Venusaur I feel like that is like one of his weaknesses. He's not good at close combat at all. And his Solar Beam, you can kind of get away from his getting hit by Solar Beam sometimes too, because of the slight delay. Like, you know how it telegraphs where the Solar Beam is going to pop up before it actually does damage. Sometimes you can avoid Solar Beam, so it's like good damage if you actually can do it, but it's like you can kind of play against him too. I can agree with him there. Let's do Pikachu first before Gardevoir. What do you guys think about Pikachu? Because I feel like Pikachu compared to some of the others isn't as good as he used to be. I feel like compared to some of the other Pokemon, like Pikachu hasn't been as good as he has been. I didn't want to put him here because I don't feel like that's right. I feel like he's not as good as he was before, but still a solid pick. Yeah, no, for sure. His stuns definitely make him good. Yeah, I feel like that is one of the main things, though, that I always felt was kind of lacking for Pikachu, is that I feel like he never does enough damage. It, like, when I'm fighting wild Pokemon, for example, I feel like it takes me forever sometimes to kill the wild Pokemon, even though I'm an attacker. He feels a little too reliant on his stuns, if that makes sense. I kind of hate the fact that Electro Ball doesn't stun, too. I feel like Electro Ball should stun, and it doesn't. All right, let's go. I'm gonna save Greninja and Cinderace for last, just because they're fairly similar. Gardevoir, I can agree with that. I could definitely agree with that. Gardevoir does so much damage. Once you unlock Psyshock, I think like, what is it? I think it's level 5 or 6. She unlocks Psyshock. She starts putting in damage. Oh my god! First couple minutes, 1 or 2 minutes of the game, she doesn't do too much. But once she evolves and gets Psyshock around, like, I think it's like 5 or 6. Oh, and that's typically when like Dreadnought appears. Everyone's typically level in between level 6 and 8 by the time Dreadnought pops up at the 7-minute mark. By that time, she's usually gotten Psyshock, and she does damage. And obviously, of course, if you get Moonblast in combination with Psyshock, you're probably gonna die, or at least be very low a good portion of time, unless you're playing like a high HP character like Snorlax or Mr. Mime or something. Gardevoir's ult is so stupid. I agree, dude. Gardevoir's ultimate can literally win team fights sometimes. It's ridiculous. It does damage. It's just a hard AoE. That's just stupid. I definitely agree. Gardevoir is like a high A, low S, or low S. Yeah. All right, now for the last two. Cinderace. What do you guys think about Cinderace? You think Cinderace is low B now? You think Cinderace is solid A, Greninja is a high A, low B? I don't know. I feel like Cinderace is still a decent pick, because Cinderace still does good amounts of damage. Cinderace still does more damage than Greninja. I don't think anybody can argue against that. It's just the fact that I feel like Greninja just has more utility than Cinderace, which is why I feel like more people are playing Greninja over Cinderace these days. I agree. I feel like Cinderace is still good. I don't know. I feel like I would rate Greninja like A tier, and Cinderace like a low A, high B. Because I feel like I don't feel like Greninja is as good as like these three, for example. But like Greninja is still a solid pick, and Cinderace is only like half a tier lower than Greninja, solely because Greninja just has more utility than Cinderace, and that's kind of it. I wouldn't be against kind of putting them in the same boat too, because it feels like a trade-off. Because I feel like I get hit with that smoke screen way too often. That like it's hard for me to chase down good Greninjas a lot of times. Yeah, it kind of is a trade-off. I feel like they're kind of in the same boat, and it's just more so what job you're trying to accomplish with them that kind of makes them good. I honestly wouldn't mind being against putting them both in like A tier. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up. That's gonna be it for today's tier list video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go ahead and let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below about this tier list. Okay, I feel like this feels like a pretty solid tier list, to be honest. Yeah, feels pretty, at least based on the games that I've been playing recently, this feels about right. But if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button. It's the best way to know when I upload more videos such as this one. Just a reminder, I do stream on Twitch almost every day, around 9 p.m. EST. So without further ado, you guys have a good one. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace, guys.